Jordan Adam Criado was born in 1960. Criado was an adopted child, with a very unhappy childhood. In early 1980, he married a young woman with children from a previous marriage. However, in December of 1989 his 12-year-old stepdaughter, Janine, admitted to an assistant district attorney that Criado had been sexually abusing her for over 5 years. His behavior toward his stepdaughter gradually escalated over time. She told the attorney that it began happening every night. Court records indicate that Criado was arrested in December of 1989 for 8 counts of lewd and lascivious acts with a minor. The crime involved not only Janine but her other small sisters as well. He pled guilty in August of 1990, and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Later, after being released, he was arrested again and served 91 days for failing to register as a sex offender. He served 11 years of his sentence, and was released back out into society. Tabasha Paige Criado was born on January 8 in 1981 in Bakersfield, California. She was the third of 6 children. After graduating South High School, Tabasha enlisted in the Navy in 2001. However, after only 5 months and 19 days she left the military. She told relatives that it just wasn't a good fit for her. Later in 2003 she enrolled in community college in Bakersfield, where she met Jordan Criado. He was 21 years older than Tabasha, and recently released from serving his time in prison. Criado confessed his crimes to Tabasha not long after they started dating. According to her brother, she wanted stability, and she was going to give him that, and he gave it to her in return. The couple dated for only a short period of time, then married by the Justice of the Peace. Criado worked as a mechanic and Tabasha waited tables. The couple had 4 children: Elijah, 7 years old, Isaac, 6 years old, Andrew, 5 years old, and Aurora, 2 years old. Elijah was born on February 24 in 2004. He had an amazing ability to build his own sophisticated toys, and he gave those toys to other students. He was always making art projects for his siblings. Isaac was born on February 27 in 2005. He was artistic, and had a huge obsession for Thomas the Tank Engine. He was above his grade level for reading and writing. Andrew was born on May 12 in 2006. He was attending Head Start. He had a passion for Iron Man, loved Spider-Man, and was always seen playing with Hot Wheel cars. Aurora was born on January 13 in 2009. She was in early Head Start. She loved dolls, especially Barbie dolls. After having Elijah, the couple moved to Oregon. Tabasha's mother found out about Criado's past and didn't like it. She said that's when he decided to get her away from her family and move far away. In 2008 the couple purchased a 3-bedroom home on Vista Drive in Central Point. By 2009 Tabasha began posting photos on Facebook of her family and her thoughts. She was known to be quick-witted. She began a friendship with a blogger from Kentucky, Sherryland Potts. The two loved natural hairstyles and 1980s music. In April of 2010 the family lost their home to foreclosure. By December the family purchased a rent-to-own home on West 10th Avenue in Medford. It was a 2-bedroom home that needed work. It had no running water or electricity. The family spent that winter in a motor home in the backyard of the home they were buying, while they worked on the home. She posted numerous pictures of her standing before fresh wallpaper and other renovation projects. Neither Tabasha or Criado held a steady job by this point. By January she spoke with her biological father, Willie Johnson, online for the first time. They made plans to meet in person in August at a barbecue. Tabasha grew up never knowing who her biological father was. She was the result of an affair between Willie and her mother. He never knew about Tabasha's existence until later in life. He tracked her down on Facebook, and wanted to be a part of her life. Tabasha became a regular belly dancer at the local YMCA. She began talking about leaving and returning back to Bakersfield, her hometown, but with 4 children, and no money, leaving wasn't a plan she could put into action for some time. On July 18 in 2011, at around 9:23 a.m. a neighbor noticed black smoke rolling from the edge of the roof of the Criado home. The smoke was gathering around the front door, and pouring out of the chimney. The neighbor tried knocking on the door. When nobody would answer, the neighbor quickly called 911. Police and fire trucks were immediately dispatched to the home. 2 officers happened to be just a couple of blocks away. When the call came in, they were on the scene within a minute. Nobody would answer their knocks. Neighbors told the officers that they believed someone was inside. So the officers dispatched an ambulance to the scene as a precaution. Not long after, firefighters arrived. They pried the front door open and entered the home. A dozen firefighters disappeared into the thick smoke inside the home. By 9:39 a.m. firefighters started emerging with arms filled with victims. After the first came out, the others followed quickly. More ambulances were dispatched. A pulse was found on 2 of the victims. By 9:44 a.m. all 6 victims were laying on the front lawn with firefighters, police, and first responders working desperately to revive the family. At first, they assumed they were unconscious from smoke inhalation, but it didn't take long to notice all the victims were also bleeding. Fire trucks blocked off the street on each end, but people gathered to watch in horror as rescuers attempted to stop the bleeding, and pump oxygen into smoke-filled lungs. Some people at the scene compared the scene to looking at a plane crash site. Over 100 emergency personnel arrived at the scene to offer assistance. There was a monthly shift meeting for the fire crews about a mile away. They were on the scene within a few minutes. Tabasha, Criado and all 4 children were rushed away in ambulances, but within 2 hours all had passed away but Criado. He laid unconscious for 3 weeks from smoke inhalation. He spent a few months in the hospital. Once discharged, authorities arrested him. The evidence showed that Criado gave all 4 of his children a large dose of melatonin to make them sleep, then crept up on his wife and stabbed her twice in the neck, twice in the face, and 10 times in the stomach. After killing his wife, he stabbed all of the boys, then smothered his daughter, and made sure the boys were dead by also smothering them. He then carried 2 of the children to a bed in the master bedroom, and put the other 2 children on a mattress in the floor of the master bedroom, where he had already placed his wife. He left the knife used on his family on a bunk bed in the boys' bedroom. He then went around the house, starting numerous fires. He splashed cooking oil all around the bodies, and on the walls of the home in an attempt to accelerate the fire. He then cut both of his wrists, and laid down in a separate room. When firefighters removed him from the home, he was unconscious from smoke inhalation. The investigation showed that Tabasha was seen at a local convenience store on the morning of the murders. A video surveillance camera showed her interacting with the cashier, then sitting down. Earlier in the weekend, Criado called and reported his wife missing. Police located Tabasha in the store and took her home. 2 hours later she was pulled from the burning fire along with her 4 children. The autopsy showed that Tabasha died from multiple stab wounds, but the children all died from smoke inhalation. All the boys were also stabbed, but the cause of death was determined to be from smoke. "It's a very sad case," said Medford Police Chief Tim George. "At least in my 34 years of memory here, I can't remember 5 homicides at one time." Neighbors told police that 2 weeks ago they heard the couple arguing loudly late at night. Tabasha's Facebook made it clear that she was not happy in the marriage. She told numerous friends as well as relatives that she wanted to leave her husband but did not have the means to do so. Jordan Adam Criado could face the death penalty if the case goes to trial, and if convicted. He is charged with numerous counts of aggravated murder, manslaughter and arson. On March 19 in 2013, 53-year-old Jordan Adam Criado entered an offered guilty plea to 4 counts of aggravated murder, and 1 count of arson. The offered plea does not admit guilt, but admits there's enough evidence to convict him if the case went to trial. With the offered plea, prosecutors did not seek the death sentence, and recommended life in prison without the possibility of parole. Criado sobbed and beat his chest in court saying, "For my wife, Tabasha, I know I have killed her, and I am sorry for that. My son, Elijah, I did not kill him. I killed my wife, because she killed my babies. My Elijah, my Isaac, my Andrew, my babies." He spoke with a heavily accented English. He continued, "My babies. My babies. My babies." Judge Lorenzo Mejia accepted his offered plea. He told Criado the evidence was overwhelming. Judge Mejia said, "Maybe you can't admit to yourself that you killed them, but that is clearly what happened. You dishonor the memory of how good a father you were, and dishonor the memory of your children by your insistence that she killed them." Criado claimed that his wife came home, and admitted to waking up in a strange man's bed, claiming she had been drugged and raped. He said he went to work on a car in his yard, but after thinking something didn't feel right, he came back in, and found her standing with a knife over the bodies of his children. He said that's when he killed her. On April 15 in 2013, Jordan Adam Criado was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murders. He also received 90 months for the arson. At the sentencing, Tabasha's biological father, Willie Johnson, told the court that he himself has been a victim of violence several times over, including the murder of his 2 sisters. He said Criado was not to blame. It was the California prison system where he did time for abusing his first wife's daughters. He said, Jordan was not released from prison. He was unleashed on society. He went on to tell Criado that he hopes he will do something good in prison to make up for his crimes. Willie Johnson said, "The sweetest words I ever heard in my life came from Aurora's mouth. She called me Grandpa. She could not manage the word grandpa, so she had her own special word for the man she never got to meet in person." Jesse Adams, Tashaba's brother, told the reporters that he and other family members are saddened and angry, and hurt, and stricken with grief over the deaths. He went on to say that his sister was wise beyond her years, and a good mother and sister. He also said that her children were the driving force of the happiness in her life. Neighbor Billy Taylor said, "It's heartbreaking. You know, especially with 4 babies. The passing. It's sad. I don't understand how anybody can do something like that." Tabasha's great-aunt, Evelyn Young, said Tabasha had recently talked about getting a divorce. She said, Jordan moved her to get away from her family. That was a sign. She went on to say, when Tabasha finally tried to leave, Jordan killed her and the kids. She continued, by outward appearances, Jordan was a quiet, devoted husband and father. But what others thought was devotion was in fact oppressive control. Marriage is not a prison, and a husband is not a warden. Marriage is not a purchase, and a wife is not property to be owned. A wife is not a child to be directed. To any woman, who is being physically restricted, emotionally controlled or abused, or financially constrained to be controlled, this is abuse. Most importantly, if any woman reading these words feels unsafe or threatened, tell somebody, a girlfriend, a relative, a pastor, a co-worker. Tabasha did not, and it cost her life. Speak up. Speak out. Break the silence. In a tearful interview, Tabasha's mother, Gwen Crowells, and stepfather, Bill Crowells, told reporters that she knew the couple were having problems and her daughter was going to leave him. She said her daughter called her just 2 days before and all she said was she loved her so much. She said it was an unusual call, but she didn't realize until after the murders how strange the call was. Mrs. Crowells wept as she talked about never seeing her grandbabies again, or her daughter. The Oregon Department of Justice, police, court officials, first responders and community members from Medford all pitched in to pay for Tabasha and her 4 children's funeral expenses, and also for counseling for family members affected by this terrible tragedy. On July 22, hundreds of family and friends lit candles and paid their respects to Tabasha and her 4 children. The funeral was held on July 23 at St. John Missionary Baptist Church in Bakersfield, California. Jordan Adam Criado was a disgusting man who had a very disturbing past. In spite of his past, Tabasha married him, and had 4 children with him. When she found out a leopard can't change his spots, she wanted to leave, but was financially unable to. When Criado figured out his marriage was really over, he murdered his wife and 4 children, then set fire to the home. He tried to commit suicide but was revived. He should have never been let out of prison in the first place. He obviously was a danger to young girls. When will we as a society learn that some people just can't be rehabilitated? Anyone who touches a child in that way should be locked up for life. Instead, he was let out and allowed to father children, and had his very own daughter. Jordan Adam Criado is a demon straight from the depths of hell, and should have been sent back to where he came. Be very careful who you choose to have children with. If someone has a history of harming children in any way, take that as a huge stop sign. Turn, and walk away. Sure, it's possible that a small percentage of people can change, but do you really want to stake your future children's life on that chance? That concludes this episode. Keep your eye out for the next volume, coming soon. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.